55 cents is all Peter McKinnon made on YouTube when he decided to drop everything and become a full-time YouTuber. So how did he go from working at a restaurant to turning a few cents into a multi-million-dollar YouTube empire?
Oh, that's real money.
In this interview, Peter reveals how he did it by breaking every rule on YouTube. He didn't follow trends.
What can I do that's not trendy?
He didn't change who he was for the algorithm.
Love mimicking a sound.
And he gave 5 more unconventional tips if you're struggling to go from part-time to full-time YouTuber. And Peter broke down several clips I dug up from the start of his career till now, so you learn exactly what happened. I'm Youshaei, and you're watching Created.
You're very good at what you do.
Peter, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, man.
My hope is to make this the most researched interview you've done. I went through your Vimeo as well.
Oh, yes. Rest in peace.
I'm telling you, yeah, I went to, well, we're going to bring it back to life.
Dug way deep, okay.
Way deep. I got to do my research.
Okay,
man.
yeah, you went there.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Let's start off with the first clip. I won't give much context. I will just let you go ahead and play this.
I'm now a full-time YouTuber, and it took me, if you think about it, 18 years to get here. It took me washing elephants. It took me getting fired from jobs. It took me working at a steakhouse, Home Depot, going through training at Apple, trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah, still think that.
Take me through that journey of the jobs you had leading up to becoming a full-time creator and the day that you left those jobs behind.
I remember that was a big realization moment. It was the steakhouse. And I worked on the line, and then when the shift ended, I was about to leave, and they're like, you gotta clean the kitchen still. I was like, it's midnight. I'm like, well, now we gotta clean for the prep people coming in tomorrow. And it was that moment I was like, I just can't do this. This isn't me, I can't do this stuff. And I went to the back, and the manager was there. I just said, hey, I think I'm done. I don't wanna work here anymore. And she's like, well, do you want like less hours? I was like, I want no hours, actually. Took off my apron, and I walked back to my little protege and drove home, and it was at that moment I thought, I gotta stop doing random jobs and at least start taking jobs, even if they're still retail or part-time, that are at least more tuned to what my interests were, to kind of like, I can't just be a pro photographer tomorrow because I decided. I knew there was steps and processes that were going to come in between that. So I thought, if I get a job at a camera shop, it gets me that much closer. I can learn cameras more. And then maybe I get an internship and I can intern with people who do it professionally and I can learn more. And it was those little steps along the way that eventually led to the big one, which was just, it's time now, dude. You've been putting it off long enough. You've done all of the steps. You could just be doing them forever, or you make the big jump instead of the step.
But I think one of the things I admire most about you, Peter, is that your turning point came when you only had 55 cents of AdSense revenue.
Yeah.
And, talking to a lot of creators,
I remember that.
I was talking to Graham Stephan, like, yeah, I became a full-time creator when I had $1 million. And I was like, what? And so I wanted to play this clip with that context.
That's quite a contrast.
I know, I was like, okay, get your thoughts on this.
I remember this day.
This screenshot is from when I first started my YouTube account. I'll throw it on the screen here. 800 subscribers, 6,889 views, 1,600 watch time minutes, and my estimated revenue of 55 cents. Now, this was the day, this exact screenshot, when I took this, was the day that I decided to go as hard as I could with YouTube being my full-time.
Yeah, that was, I remember that vividly. It was proof of concept to like, I logged in one day and it was just not zero anymore. It was 55 cents. And I was like, oh, that's real money. That 55 cents will turn into $1, maybe 10 bucks, maybe 100 bucks, maybe enough to pay one bill, just one bill of mine. And if I can pay one bill, I can pay all the bills. So it was the only spark that I needed to just set that fire. And yeah, that 55 cents, that screenshot, I think I printed it off actually and framed it and put it in my office.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about romance that swept through YouTube and play this clip of, I think, the first moment that Casey Neistat appeared in one of your videos.
Okay. Oh, this was good.
Okay guys, so the thing is, I get asked a lot, like I see all kinds of comments of people saying like, oh, that's like Casey because you ride a boosted board. And to be honest, like, just because I ride a skateboard, I don't think that makes me like the guy. I don't know, does it bother you that I ride a boosted board?
No, but can you plug that into the charger when you're done with it?
Yeah.
Looking at the stats, at that point, you had about 700, 800,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And he had about 8 million.
Oh, okay.
How did that initial relationship happen? Did Casey Neistat DM you? Did you reach out to him?
Well, I first met him at this little shop somewhere somewhere in New York. I didn't really say much because I didn't want to be the guy being like, hey, can we be friends or anything? So I just kind of hung out. And then I think it was like a few weeks later or a few months later, he DM'd me on Twitter and just said, let's make vids.
Wow.
And I was like, sure, when? And he's like, come to Amsterdam. I was like, yeah, when? And he's like, tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And I bought a ticket and flew to Amsterdam like within like 15 hours or something, which is really funny because I got back from that trip and then he was in Toronto like the next day. Wow. I was like, dude, we could have just done this here. So we hung out again there and then every time he called me, my heart would sink a little bit because he was always saying, hey, are you free on the weekend? I was like, oh, what now? He's like, let's go to Bermuda. Like, wow. Oh, this guy.
What did you learn from Casey Neistat in your first 24 hours with him?
On that trip, one of the first things he said to me, which was interesting, which was what I learned, we were having breakfast, and he said, so what do you want to film today? Like, do you have your ideas? Like, do you know what you want to do? Like, can I help? I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, I don't really know what's in plan or what's in story. He's like, I've got the whole thing mapped out. Like, my video's already done. It's like, oh yeah, and he's like, oh bro, I've got this so streamlined. And we left and he went to an exact spot to do an intro that he already knew and everything was very much mapped out in his mind. And he was able to execute, finish, film, do everything in that video, but with such, it was just so strategic. Like there was no time wasted.
Can you talk about when you get approached now from other creators, what advice would you give to make a good first impression?
But it seems to be most of the time like, let's collab, or like, I'd love to work for you, or I can shoot this, and it's always around the person you're meeting. You don't know that person, so right off the bat, you're kind of like, I don't really know who you are, and I appreciate the help being offered that I don't need, but there's other people, and it's just kind of a weird situation.
Maybe if you want to have a business conversation, approach the manager who's on the side.
He's the guy who's going to get it done anyway.
Yeah, might as well think about that. Interesting. So takeaways for creators if you guys are listening. I feel like it's such a trend, Peter, with you. I find creators do one thing. I've done a lot of interviews where creators like, yeah, I send a headline and a thumbnail to a creator that I want to collaborate with and wait for an answer.
Oh, yeah, I'd never do that.
Yeah.
No.
You're all about relationship and almost being the opposite in a way that, in the short run may hurt you, but in the long term, it seems like it's worked out in a big way.
Friendships might last longer, and I'm just all about doing things differently.
Yeah.
And if I see like a herd going that way, I want to go the opposite way. And if a lot of videos are trendy, I'm like, what can I do that's not trendy?
Yeah, I think there's so many more interesting topics to dive into, especially with you. And one of the things that I want to ask you about is this. I'll let you play it and I'll give more context.
Can I do it now?
Yeah, just do it.
Do I sit beside? Or
Just do it. I'll wait.
just from here?
Go for it.
Okay. Hey, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. Does anyone at this point not know what Squarespace is? Who doesn't know?
That's true.
So context for everyone, that was a Squarespace brand integration in one of your videos. But it was so freaking entertaining that I almost forgot. And the reason why I want to give context is because, there's so much humor into it. How do you think about a brand integration like that?
So instead of speaking to you about Squarespace, I can speak to Squarespace Pete, and we can speak to each other and just kind of have this fun banter that someone just gets to enjoy instead of being pitched to, right? It's entertaining and it's fun. And now it's at the point where if I don't do it, people are like, bring back Squarespace Pete. And I've got so many ideas to take it so far. When it sounds like an ad read is when it's the least appealing. So even if it's going to sound like it, can you do something visually that's going to change it up? Can there be an activity that you do that you can do with someone else? Is there somewhere else you can shoot it? Is there a way that you can take one of your interests and provide me an example of what the brand is instead of just telling me about the brand? I don't care. I don't want to hear it. If it's a brand about, like if we're talking about trimmers, like do something funny with the trimmer. Like what happens to the trimmer all the time? You cut yourself? Are the batteries dying? Can we do a skit about the batteries dying? Or like give me some examples or just anything other than just sitting there reading a script.
That's amazing, man. It's such a trend I'm seeing here of like, you're like zigging where the industry is zagging. And I found another area where you had a conversation with a fellow magician.
Yeah, this is a good day.
I remember thinking a couple years ago, Casey's the biggest it'll ever get, or Lele's the biggest.
Sure.
Like, what can get bigger? Logan Paul's the biggest.
Yeah.
And I think that number of like how fast they're growing and their audience reach is gonna like exponentially grow.
When we've seen it, like Ninja, like just different people overnight go from 0 to like 15 million subs.
Yeah.
And Peter, the thing I want to show with that are these statistics I pulled on the most viewed TikToks, which are all magic related. And I was so curious to ask you, because of your background in magic, right? And Zach King having some of the most viewed videos, why you didn't go into this digital form of magic when there's such an appetite for it?
I think because when I see a talent like Zach King and respect it at the level I do, I don't need to throw my hat in, because I just don't personally feel like I could do better than what Zach is doing. So it's not like if I got in there, there'd be too many cooks in the kitchen. It's quite the contrary. I wouldn't even know how to cook the meal. Why cook the meal when it's already being fed and it's delicious? So I kind of just think that's his realm, and he owns it so much at this point. Even if I did, it would just be in the shadow of someone who's doing it the best.
To be fair though, there's so many photographers on YouTube when you entered this space.
Yeah.
What were some of the problems with, the photography space that you tried to solve when you entered it?
Boredom. Just boredom. It was like orientation videos when you got a retail job and you had to sit down and watch all the safety procedures before you could put the uniform on, and they're never good videos. And I thought, but you gotta have more fun. Like we gotta vlog and then show some real life examples and just have a bit of like humanity in this. Like let's not take ourselves so seriously. It's just photography. How do we make this cool? How do we make it actually cool? Like this dude who's got a beard and tattoos and a backwards hat who's out hanging out with a vlogger. Like this is not what photography space is used to. But it's what would relate to people who are up and coming and starting in photography. Absolutely. So that's kind of was my mindset moving into it.
Speaking of bringing humanity to your videos, I think one of the best ways that you do it, and you've done it multiple times in this interview, is adding sound effects.
Oh yeah, this was a long time ago.
Punch sounds and like a fight scene.
Sounds. I'm rolling.
You went deep.
Okay.
Do you know how weird this was to do? The end.
I'm gonna pass out.
I remember doing that, dude. Andrew was like, wow, that was actually awesome. I was like, yeah, that was pretty good, wasn't it? I've always loved sound effects, man.
Dude, I bought your sound pack.
Oh, nice.
Love it.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I remember that video. What are your top 3 favorite sound effects, if you could do them live?
I wouldn't say there's like a go-to. I used to do like a helicopter a lot, like a, but it was like, when it's coming down. I used to love that. Like the punch sounds obviously always just, those are always really good. But yeah, I love mimicking a sound. If I hear something, I'll be like, oh, that was good. What was that? What was that? Or how would you make a sound if you were filling up a glass of water? Like, what would that sound like? Like with something like that. I don't know. And I just try it.
Guys, I have to tell you about a huge problem. I'll get back to the video in just a second, but basically, you're gonna have a problem if you don't tell the people that this video is sponsored by Stir. Oh my God, it's my CFO. What are you doing here? I'm shooting a video. Yeah, but stay focused, John. Tell the people about Stir's amazing features. Yes, but doesn't everybody already know that Stir is the financial studio for creators? Yeah, but you could also tell them that Stir is a great tool to split your revenue, manage your money, your metrics, make instant payments, generate invoices, collab all in one place. John, we rehearsed all this. I mean, dude, I'm just a creator. I just want to focus on making videos, not all that financial and business. Come on, John, can you at least tell the people about a few features from Stir that you love? Okay, I do love splits. I mean, it's this feature from Stir that lets you instantly share revenue coming in from brand deals and platforms like YouTube with your team. Like you could give a % of your YouTube AdSense to the editor who help you make the video if you want. Or hey, maybe you can even split it with your CFO or to your CFO. And I've known the team at Stir for years now. I think what they're doing for the creator economy is awesome. So use that link in the description and let them know that John Youshaei, CFO, sent you, and you could book a call with them. They'll take care of you. And wait, if they do all of that, then what are you gonna do as my CFO?
Pete, as we round the corner here on memory lane, the last clip is one that I dug deep for.
Oh man.
Do you know what this is?
Of course I know, bro. I remember where I shot this too, on an ice rink at like midnight because the lights were still on.
What defines a moment? Is it the people who surround us? Or is it simply our surroundings? Maybe something we touch.
Joe, I was trying to find this file legitimately a few months ago, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know how you found it. That's so impressive.
Dude, we dug deep on this.
Yeah, you did.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
What was the storytelling? What was going? It was so, I couldn't believe that you made that, given how good of a storyteller you are today.
Yeah, I made that ages ago. Camera contest or something, and I never enter stuff. And I was like, I could bust out a short film like that in no time. Like it would take me like one night. So I went out and just like compiled a bunch of clips and wrote something and went to like voices.com, found some guy, sent him my script and everything. And I got disqualified for some reason. I was like the winner, but it was something like I used a clip not in the time frame when we were supposed to shoot. I used to do that all the time. My wife was always a huge advocate, still is, of practicing your craft. So if she sees me just pounding videos after videos after videos, she's like, when was the last time you went out and like just took photos? Not for Instagram. And I was like, you should probably do that. Like, she's like, because as much as you're the teacher and as much as you're the guy inspiring everyone else to get out there and do it, you still need to like follow the passion that got you here in the first place. And if you're not learning, you're unlearning. So you got to make sure you keep your skills sharp and you learn new things so that you're inspired, and that'll eventually trickle down to inspiring new things for new people. It's like, that's wise.
Pete, I just have to say thank you, man. I don't know if you have any final words of things.
Dude, no, I'm like, I've been interviewed a lot, and I was like, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all the effort you put into that, because it made it quite memorable.
Oh man, that means the world.